Hey there. I want to take a few minutes today and tell you about the basics of playing piano. Starting to play an instrument can be overwhelming, and many people give up after the first try. You can avoid that and be successful at learning how to play piano if you first know a few fundamentals about it. I made this video for people who are beginners at piano but have always had an interest in it and are thinking about starting to learn how to play. Even if you tried it before, on your own or with a teacher, and failed, I'm going to tell you how to make it this time. Sooner than you think, you'll be proud to play a few tunes on the piano just to relax after a long day, or even to entertain your friends. Learning how to play piano can and should be fun. No matter if you want to become an excellent piano player or if you only want to do it as a hobby, the things I'll cover in the next few minutes will help you have a good start and make the whole experience more enjoyable. Before I go into it, I just want to mention a guide that I find very useful and that I recommend to all my piano students. I included the link in the description to this video, so when you have a couple of minutes, just check it out. It has tons of useful information if you're a beginner and will make playing the piano a lot easier. I know that being a beginner is scary. The piano is something that takes some time and dedication to learn, but if you put in the time, you'll be surprised of how fast you'll pick it up. So the first thing you have to do is, number 1, be willing to practice. When you get started, you're probably very enthusiastic and want to spend hours practicing. But soon enough, the enthusiasm fades because you're not able to play anything great only after a few lessons. You have to realize that you aren't going to learn technique and how to read music overnight. You have to be willing to put in time to become a good piano player. As a beginner, you may find that learning music theory and putting together the theory with making music makes little sense. But don't give up. If you stick with it and practice every other day for 30 minutes, you'll find that it starts to come naturally after a while. My next advice is to, number 2, find the right piano for you. For beginners, the quality of the piano isn't very important. If you are just learning, you can opt for a larger keyboard, which at times can be helpful because of the type of technology that they have now for key guidance. Buying a piano is expensive, and if you're a beginner and unsure of whether or not you're going to continue playing, then I suggest buying a used, cheaper piano, or just investing in a keyboard. And I get many questions about the next one. Number 3, learning to play piano with a teacher. It may be a good idea to find a piano teacher to help you, at least in the beginning. It can be more expensive than learning on your own, but it can get you out of a rut, and it can also help with motivation. Working with a piano teacher is useful because they can teach you the proper music theory, as well as start you on things such as scales and arpeggios to help you learn fingering techniques. The truth is that most people do both, learn on their own with a good guide, and get help from a teacher every once in a while when they find they need some extra advice. The next tips I'm going to talk about are more specific to how to go about playing the piano. Even if you learn on your own, or with a teacher, remember to, number 4, always warm up. Always take the time to warm up your hands before playing the piano. It's just as important as it is to warm up your muscles before a workout. Learning scales and arpeggios will get your hands and fingers warmed up so you don't get worn out before you can actually do any learning. Even if I have a lot of practice, I find that when I fail to warm up, my hands get sore and stiff after playing for a while. When you start learning different music pieces, the best advice I can give is to, number 5, learn the music in front of you in segments. Typically, when I start teaching students a new piece, I make them break it down into a few segments. All music is broken up into what are called measures. Within each measure are different notes. I typically tell a student to take 1 or 2 measures and learn how to play them with each hand individually. Once they've mastered learning the measures using both hands separately, I have them put it together with both hands and play it a few times over so I know that they've got a good hold on it. By the time you finish doing this with the whole song, you'll start grasping what the composer was looking for when they wrote the piece. It's also helpful to, number 6, decide what type of genre you want to learn. There are different types of music that you can play on the piano. Most beginners start by learning a few classical pieces, as generally classical music is best for getting the hang of fingering as well as developing reading skills. If you decide that you want to play more modern hits, you'll typically be able to find sheet music for all levels, including for beginners. You'll notice that most beginner sheet music has small numbers above the notes. These numbers will help you understand what finger to use for each note at any given time. Whatever genre of music you start practicing, be patient and learn from your mistakes. Number 7. Don't repeat the same mistakes. This is where a piano teacher can help a lot in the beginning. They'll teach you what bad habits are, such as playing too far into the keys or keeping your wrist too tight. If the piano teacher corrects something, either in your technique or in the music that you are playing, try to remember it. If you continue to do the same mistakes over and over again, you'll find that learning other pieces of music will be challenging because you've developed bad habits. Don't become frustrated by having to do something over and over again. Rather, look at it as part of the learning process. Remember that practice makes perfect. Another trick of the trade is to number 8. Play whenever you can, even without a piano. As a beginner, it's important to always practice. Even if you don't have a piano in front of you, I always tell my students to practice fingering on an imaginary piano. I can tell the difference between my students who use this technique and those who don't. Typically, students who pretend to play the piano and visualize the music have a better success rate and learn faster. It might feel funny to do this in the beginning, but you'll get into it. You don't have to make a big scene out of rehearsing music without a piano. For example, I often just find myself playing a few notes on my legs while I'm sitting in front of the TV or when I'm at my desk. These are the basic pieces of advice that I give to all my piano students when we first meet. Some of them might seem common sense, others might be new to you, but I find that students who listen and take my advice into account make progress a lot faster and are happier with the results of their learning. Remember to not give up. Even if it might seem difficult in the beginning, imagine the pride you'll feel when you're able to carry a whole tune on the piano. Think how great it will be not only to listen to music, but to play it yourself and entertain a whole room with your talent. Music is so beautiful and emotional, and the piano is one of the instruments that easily gets to people's hearts. You're just a few lessons away from playing beautiful songs. You can learn on your own or get a teacher to help. Either way, the teacher isn't going to be by your side all the time. So it's useful to have at hand a good guide written by an experienced teacher. I included a link to such a guide in the description of this video. I can't cover everything here, but I hope I've given you an idea on how to start playing the piano, and you can find everything else in the guide I mentioned. Even if you're an absolute beginner, learning how to play the piano can be fun and rewarding with the right guidance. I hope you'll enjoy your learning experience, and here's to hearing you play many beautiful songs.